After so many years, hounded by hatred, and trapped by fear, I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I'll slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah.
Peace and love. Welcome again to tuning in to the NEPPC podcast. I'm Brother Frank. Usually I'm with my brother and former political prisoner Abdul Haq Islam. Unfortunately, the brother couldn't come on today due to some medical issues he has to deal with. We want him to keep up his appointments and keep strong, and he's with us in spirit. But, you know, the show must go on. Stop. No direction. Anyway, brother. And sisters, thank you for tuning in. Please like, please share, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's keep our platform expanding and growing. Today's topic is organizing for the right to live, right? And how does that relate to political prisoners? It relates to political prisoners because in all aspects of our struggle, our fight for our right to be self-determined, our right to live, we have to organize for our right to live. So it's synonymous with the actual right. And we have to do what needs to be done to make those who are in power understand our position. That we have to fight, right? To have a right is not, doesn't just work that way, right? You have a right and you have to advocate for that right, and it has to be organized. To effectively fight, you have to do so organized. That requires discipline, that requires focus, and that requires a certain level of conviction. And we look at slavery times, the times of slavery when our ancestors were forced to be slaves. They were kidnapped from Africa, brought here, and forced to work from sun up to sundown, and they had no right or they had no say so in what was going to happen to their bodies and what was going to happen to their offspring. And they witnessed some horrific sights and scenes, very traumatizing, and they had to teach their children certain ideas that they themselves were not co-signing, but they were just trying to fight. And that leads us to this point of you have to organize for the right to live. And that means that you have to have discussions. If you talk about Nat Turner during that time of their position of resistance, they had to know the land, they had to know who was with them and who was against them, and they had to have some serious discussions. They had to make some serious decisions. And that goes hand in hand with political prisoners. Political prisoners are casualties of the liberation struggle. They understood what it needs to mean to be organized. You have to make commitment to political studies. You have to study intensely. You have to put your distractions to the side. You know, some distractions are going to take a longer time to eliminate if you can't, and you have to struggle to get to that point of actual elimination. So they're reduced as much as possible so you can go on and continue to fight. And our political prisoners, that's exactly what they did. You know, when we look at Mumia Abu-Jamal and look at his position with the Black Panther Party, he was a journalist. He knew his position with the Panther Party. he knew that he had to document what was going on, and in documenting, you start to win others over. That's the part of the transforming process. Dr. King, when he organized people for the civil rights movement, and they had to be focused on what was going on, he had to have serious critical analysis of what was going on at the time. And from that, he would understand what position he was going to take. And those who were part of his movement decided that they were going to co-sign how he was going to move forward, what tactics they were going to take, because they were aligned with what the brother and what the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee decided what was going to be done. Because when you're organizing for the right to live, there are tactics that you have to take. Where you're organizing a boycott, people are going to have to be made aware of why the boycott is going to happen. And once you are organizing, then that is going to bring about an effective, or at least a potentially effective way in which your objective can be carried out. And when we look at George Floyd, and we look at how people came together, people were organized, people decided that enough was enough. They knew what happened with Rodney King. They knew what the verdict was. And there were a number, Tamir Rice, and so many other casualties, Trayvon Martin. And, you don't want to forget the local brother, Sean Bell. Ironically, my son actually went to the same school that he went to. And it just lets you know that, there are tragedies happen, but a tragedy is made worse when no action by people are conducted. And that's why it's so important that we never forget our political prisoners. We make time to talk to one another about our political prisoners. Then we make the time to write to our political prisoners. And this is very important because, our political prisoners took a position when it came to what was going on amongst their people, right? You have a number of them, when you listen to their stories, you hear how they observed their reality and had a problem with their reality, and decided that they were going to stand up and do something about it, regardless of the casualties, regardless of the consequences, that is, you're right. We all know that instinctively we are struggling to do what's right. We see something wrong happen, like you might see an elderly woman about to fall, and you immediately respond by trying to secure her from falling, right? At the possibility of you injuring yourself, maybe twisting the ankle or even worse. But you were created to know right from wrong. You have the ability to gather thoughts and make a distinction from what belongs where and what belongs to who, and what's going to be the outcome or potential outcome. And from that, you make a decision on what you are going to do. And from that, you feel a certain way about yourself. And I think when we ignore political prisoners and we don't take a position on the side of our political prisoners, or we leave the work for somebody else, I think that says something about us. That says that we're okay with injustice occurring as long as it doesn't happen to us. We're okay with a political prisoner being in prison as long as we're not in prison. And I think when we look at history and we look at the sacrifices of people, right? People sacrifice to create the common workday, right? 8-hour workday. Prior to that, it was anywhere from, if I'm not mistaken, from 12 to 14 or maybe 16 hours a day. There were no child labor laws. So you had babies that were working in hazardous work conditions, and people organized and fought for that. And people were locked up. They were political prisoners. People were killed, and they were martyrs. And that was so you can enjoy what you have now. So when we look at these incidents historically, we have to ask ourselves in 2023, when we have to take a stand against, how people are dealing with the environment, how these corporations are dealing with the environment. We have to take a stand with that. We have to push for what we know is correct. When we look at mass incarceration, we have to push for what we know is correct. And that could lead to some of us being martyrs. That could lead to some of us being political prisoners. But if we don't do the work, who will? Right? We keep waiting for somebody else to say they're going to step up. They're going to take on the challenge. They're going to take on that responsibility. That may or may not happen. But what does that say about us? Right? We always have to point that finger to us. We have to ask ourselves, if we know something is incorrect and we're not doing anything, then do we really care about what's happening? And do we care about our future? Right? Because our future is happening now. You know, we look at our children, and our children are going to school. They start in school. They will be given their school assignments. A number of them will have book reports, reading assignments. You know, where do we place our ideas in those assignments? Some of us attend PTA meetings. Are we advocating for the discussions on our martyrs, our political prisoners? Right? It's very important, right? Because this is about organizing for the right to live, right? We say to live means you determine how you was going to live. You determine the quality of food that's going to be made for people. And that's a struggle. That's a fight, because you're fighting corporations that their whole agenda, their operation, their method, and their agenda of operating is for profit only. It's profit over people. It's profit over morals. It's profit over what may happen to the everyday, to people's each and every day of their lives. And that's why we have to take a serious look at the fight that's at hand. There's a fight going on, whether you participate or not. And our political prisoners understood that. Rhonda Bowers, he understood that. He was part of the Black Panther Party. You know, he was incarcerated for a number of years, and he's still incarcerated over 47 years. That's why you see me out here with the shirt on, right? The shirt speaking about his album. And this album is very important. It's Peace in the Chaos. And we look at the world that we live in, it's very chaotic. There are a number of people who have power who are not thinking about our everyday lives, who are thinking about satisfying their supporters. And we have to look at our lives, and we have to examine it from a position of what are we going to accept and what are we not going to accept. And if we're not going to accept, what actions are we going to be driven to take? And these actions that we be driven to take must be organized. We can't just be out here doing something spontaneously or doing something for the sake of being glorified. We have to think of things scientifically. We have to think about what's happening and what we need to do and how we need to align ourselves with people who share that same view and people who are willing to take a position, to take a serious stand. And speaking on Rhonda Bowers, his stand on mental health issues is very important, because this album itself puts you in that relaxed state. It helps you to align yourself with yourself in a world that's very chaotic, a world because those who are empowered to advocate for capitalism, which one of the number of the prerequisites of capitalism is exploitation and oppression, right? Because you are extracting so many hours out of a worker or a day and a week. They're spending time away from their family. And at the end of all of that, they might not have enough money, or they won't have enough money to acquire food, land, and clothing, right? It's one of the three, not all of the three. And that's oppressive, right? That's exploitative, because there's enough resources for every man, woman, and child to have enough, to have adequate amount of food, clothing, and shelter. And this is the idea that the few benefit off the many. And because of the few benefiting off the many are going to feel that pain. They're going to feel the pain of being exploited and oppressed, which leads to mental health issues. And that's why Rhonda Bowers' album is so important. It's so powerful, because it transforms you. It aligns you to that place where you need to be, so you can focus a lot more sharper. So I've asked many people, or I've asked those who viewed a number of postings that I put up that were pictures and it was under the hat with the hashtag Free Veronza, and also put his music from his album Peace in the Chaos with Rev Love, and asking people to contact me and let me know what you think, so we can let this brother get as much support as he need when the time arrives for him to be validated as what? As a freedom fighter, as a person for the people. See, he's a political prisoner now, because prior to his incarceration, that's what he was about. He was about organizing his people, organizing for the right to live, because that's why we all are organizing. You know, I say we, lovers of freedom, lovers of justice, those who understand what it truly means to love something. If you truly love something, you stand for it. You stand up, you fight back, you do what's necessary to make sure that that in which you claim to be about is advocated to the many people any and everywhere you go. But when we talk about political prisoners, we have to be clear on what we're talking about, because sometimes I'm in a certain environment and I bring up political prisoner, and all people hear is the word prisoner. So political prisoners are people jailed on charges related to their resistance to oppression and repression, and targeted by the state for their political beliefs and or actions. Why would the state, right? A state claiming to be democratic, a state claiming to be about freedom and providing freedom to all, why would they respond to advocates against oppression the way they do? Because those in power know the potential, the threat that a person of consciousness represents when they bring ideas to people. They know that, okay, you are being exploited, you are experiencing oppression because of your depression, because of your exploitation. And why are you being exploited? Because somebody who once their greed met and satisfied put you in your current condition, right? You are underfed, you're underhoused, and you work, so you're not lazy. And this is done because of the way in which capitalism operates. So people who are aware of that tend organize. They stand up, they fight back, they organize what people are, they give people ideas on what they can do. You know, when you march, right, that's a demonstration in the street. People see you and you have a slogan, and you're presenting a slogan to people, and it's resonating with people. Some people join the march, some people think about it, but in their own way, they're developing. The ideas circulating in their mind, and they're making a decision. At some point, they will be forced to make a decision on what they would decide to do. Like Marcus Garvey said, when organizing people fail to organize people, conditions will. And your responsibility as a lover of freedom is to present an idea to people, and let people take that idea and bring that idea to their family, their loved ones, or bring that idea to their coworkers, and start to have conversations, dialogue around that. So when you see me on this platform about political prisoners, that's exactly why I do what I do. Because yes, there might be 40 people that watch it. There might be 4 people that watch it. But see, my job is done. My job is to bring an idea to you, right? To let you know that political prisoners are there, to bring an idea to a community, and let the community know that in the spirit of political prisoners, freedom fighters, I am here. I am here representing their ideas. They might be incarcerated, but their spirit lies with me. And as an expression of me committed to advocating for them and their ideas, and knowing that their spirit lies with me, I'm present and I'm addressing whatever situation that is happening amongst people. Right? We see the situation. France continues to attack Africa. We see the situation where you still have sanctions on Zimbabwe. You still see the situation with Cuba, and the embargo is still in existence. You see the fact that, there's not universal health care, that people have to fight to get certain health care, and the less money you have, the poor quality of health care you're going to receive. And this is not a new tragedy that's been going on. This has been going on quite some times. But yes, progress have been made. Yes, people victories have been gained. And we should be further inspired by these victories, the victories of getting compassionate release for people like Dr. Mutulu Shakur, people like Russell Maroon Schultz. And, so we have to fight for others, right? And speaking on Dr. Mutulu Shakur, it was this past Friday that at the Betty Shabazz Center at once was Audubon Ballroom, there was a celebration of his life. A number of statements were made to recognize this former political prisoner contribution to his nation, to his people. And what we gain out of that, one of the things that I posted prior to me coming on was that it said, Mutulu said that we must have more love for one another. And yes, that love must be inspired, or it must be expressed in actions, deeds. One person said, who was known to turn a prison yard into a university. You know how much respect a person would have to be able to turn people's mind into something that they were not accustomed to doing with their mind. You're in a hostile environment. You're going to react hostilely, react with hostility. But you have somebody who's very advanced in his thinking, somebody like Dr. Mutulu Shakur, who's present, who's talking to people, who's able to relate to their current conditions and give them something else to think about, just the same way that George Jackson did. George Jackson was a man's man. He didn't sell wolf tickets. Whatever he said he was going to do, he did. And he got that respect from from brothers who were in the inside with him. Same with Dr. Mutulu Shakur. And there was people who spoke, and they spoke dearly about him. I know former city councilman who will always be an advocate of people's advancements. Charles Barron spoke, and he spoke about visiting Dr. Mutulu Shakur and in Atlanta, Georgia, and saying when he spoke to Dr. Mutulu Shakur, affectionately known as Doc, he said that Dr. Mutulu Shakur didn't talk about his situation. He talked about what needed to be done for Black people. So he knew that his situation wasn't about him. It was about what was going to happen to the people he seen as his nation, as his extended family. And he had a deep rooted love for his people, to the point where he put his personal needs and his personal desires to the side, and he made it about his people. So when we look at those sacrifices that Dr. Mutulu Shakur had given for people, we got to keep moving forward. As Dr. Mutulu Shakur said, straight ahead. And that's what we need to do. We need to have tunnel vision. We need to say, this is the objective, and this objective will be carried out. So, Dr. Mutulu Shakur, he didn't waste no time. When he came home, he talked to a number of people that he had to speak to. I know one of his sons, Mopreme, said that he actually met up with Nas. So I think that was good, right? Nas has a mass appeal. For those who might have some relationships with Nas, they should advocate for him putting out a documentary on revolutionaries who came out of Queens, and revolutionaries who exist, period, and how there are revolutionaries who are currently incarcerated on these questionable charges, and these revolutionaries are political prisoners, because the only reason they're incarcerated is because of their stance politically. So if you happen to be somewhere and know somebody, and relay that message to Nas. Tell Nas mass appeals have a very strong platform, and they should use that to educate people, to keep people moving forward, and to do correct things, and to understand that they come from a rich a culture of resistance, a culture that understands what needs to be done. So, make time to write to a political prisoner. School has just started. this is the time that we need to start thinking about what will our children learn this upcoming school year, and what am I going to speak on behalf, right? When it's time to speak to the teachers about what my child is learning, right? Why not start a campaign where they could write to political prisoners, write to Reverend Joy Power. She has some ideas. She can definitely assist with a curriculum. Jamil Alamin, right? Write him. Have the students write him, and do this prior to Black History Month, right? Let the principal know that you are a person of African descent, and you are very informed about your history, and you are aware that there are political prisoners in existence, and how the children who are the future should have a right and a say-so to what happens to our political prisoners. What will be the fate of our political prisoners? That lies in the hand of taxpayers, those who are weekly, hourly, every second, they are calculating how much they're going to take from your paycheck. You should have a say-so on what happens with it, and I think that once you realize your power, and you can let others know that they have the same power, and you can increase your numbers. And as you increase your numbers, right, this momentum that's established is going to produce results that are favorable to working class people. They are favorable to people of African descent, people who have a history of being oppressed, but we simply don't accept oppression. We stand up, we fight back, we create a situation where we can potentially change each and every situation around us. All sectors of life will be addressed because they have to. Because how long can we live comfortably under subpar conditions, right? If you don't have the best food, how healthy will your life be? You don't have the right type of shelter or the quality of shelter that promotes a certain quality of life in terms of how your mind will operate, right? Because if you are in a compromising living condition, how effective are you going to be in terms of being able to articulate ideas, and in terms of carrying out ideas? You're distracted, right? Your situation, your oppressive situation makes you being able to function at a certain way very compromised. And we have to really look at that seriously, and we have to take matters into our own hands, meaning that we have to stand up, we got to fight back, we got to get organized, we got to let those know who are with us that this is how it must be done. We got to stand together, we got to fight back. So this half an hour has come to a close, and I just want to say thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving me the time that you have available and listening to the words that I had to say on behalf of myself and the Northeast political prisoners. So peace, and y'all know the call, free them all.
Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound, chained by the caveman who keeps beauty down, smacked on the ass when they're squalling and wet. And to a spineless man who never forgets never forgets that he's a prisoner. Can't you hear my plea? 'Cause I need somebody, Lord knows, to listen to me. I'm a stranger to my son who wonders why his daddy runs. Yeah.